What is up, GOAT World? It is me, your boy JDZ, and I'm back at you again with another GOAT format video. Just yesterday, the PWCQ number 41 went down, and it also was a great event. Man, we're having some great events as this season is coming to an end. So I'm going to bring you the top 8 decks from that event. We had 41 players for PWCQ 41. I thought that was hilarious, and we had one invitation given out to the GOAT Format World Championship. But before we hop on in, make sure you guys go ahead and like and subscribe, and we're going to hop on in. Let's go ahead and do it. Coming on in at number 8. Number 8, we have Duck Duck Goose, aka WEN-ORDO, back in the GOAT format scene. These duels took a long break, playing a lot of current Yu-Gi-Oh, but now finding their way back into the GOAT world, trying to get their invitation to the GOAT format world championship, playing this Chaos Turbo deck, electing to use the Wing Blast, sticking with the Wing Blast, sticking with the Dust Shoot. This duel is one of the very first Wing Blast Dust Shoot in tandem users, you know, sticking with it still. Just going 2 copies of each in the main deck, 1 main deck Mind Control, and this duel is also bringing in the Morphing Jar in the main deck. I think that's cool. I think this card is right there. I think Morphing Jar is good enough to be played. I would like to see more duels giving it a shot. It's a blowout, man, and it can absolutely change the flow of the game in an instant. But oh my goodness, the spice of life is coming in this side deck. This duelist is bringing in the absolute spice. The Sacred Phoenix of Nefertiti is coming on back in this side deck. This duelist is another person who's on the forefront of the Phoenix technology. Kind of got me inspired, got me playing the Phoenix. I played a lot of Phoenix, and I love seeing this card. And I think it's in a pretty good spot in our metagame when all these warrior players going crazy. The Phoenix is great against that strategy. Also playing the Acid Trap Hole. I think that card is bad personally, but maybe if you can incorporate that with the Phoenix, you know what I'm saying, they Book of Moon that thing, you can Acid Trap Hole it with the Regeki breaks as well. You got the control stuff for the warrior. This seemed like it'd have a pretty good warrior matchup going into game 2 and beyond. Also main decking that Sakuretsu armor to kind of help hedge for that. I think this deck is pretty cool, and I think the duelist is pretty cool. I love to see it. Also Spirit Reaper is not a bad inclusion with just 1 Dekoichi. So this is the deck that Duck Duck Goose came in with the 8th play finish, and I think it is dope. Tell me what you guys think about it. All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7, you guys know I am a huge fan of the Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay, Jean-Claude Van Damme back in the building playing the GOAT control strategy. This is the compilation that this duelist has been rocking with all season, keeping that breaker in the side deck, you know, maintaining got the Dekoichis in there, you got the Fusilier, the dual mode bees. You make this German engineering GOAT control is what I like to call. A lot of German GOAT control players play this type of deck. Got the Solemn Judgments in there, Trap Does Shoot. I think this deck is really cool. I like how he kind of stalls the game out. He finds that OTK push, and then he takes you down. I've tried this deck several times myself. It doesn't go well for me. I don't see it, but this duel has hundreds of matches with this deck. This duelist is actually performing very well in the GOAT format World League with this deck. Has several tops with this deck, so he's got a lot of mileage on this thing. So maybe there's something to it. If you're into GOAT control, give it a shot yourself and tell me what you think about it. But I think it's really cool, and I've seen some of the lines this duelist can take, and he's never out of a game. He always has a way to kind of weasel back in and get to where he wants to be playing this strategy, and I think that's really cool. Breaker in the side deck, I don't necessarily hate that, especially right now in the meta that we find ourselves. Everything in that game 1 is typically going to be very chainable. Breaker's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I don't hate it. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of GOAT control players will call travesty. The deck needs to plus. Breaker can plus. Why you not playing it? I don't hate it. Again, Morphing Jar in the main deck. That's number 2 deck in the top 8, seeing Morphing Jar. Combine that with Giant Trunade that his duel is also main decking. I think he can come up with a combination of plays that can just, you know, blow your opponent out, getting +5s. Sometimes I've seen it happen. But I think this deck is very cool. I also think the player is very cool. I love seeing GOAT control perform well as we get towards the end of the season. This duel still isn't invited. I think that is a travesty. But shout out to Jean-Claude. I'm sure they'll get there at some point. All right. Moving on. We got JACKSWORN coming on back in. Birdcage in the house. Birdcage doing his thing, trying to make it with this warrior deck. Very by today's standards, you know what I'm saying? Still pretty standard warrior deck, but this is the menace of the format. This deck, I think, is in a good spot. The warrior strategy in a good spot. They can kind of, this warrior strategy is what's going to dictate where the metagame goes. I firmly believe that in my heart. He's got the Spirit Reaper in there. I think that's another great inclusion. 2 Kaiko, I don't hate that. Triple Saku trying to hedge for the mirror. I don't hate that either with only 2 Dust Shoots. I don't hate that as well. Main deck in the Smashing Ground. I think that's a very solid Yu-Gi-Oh card in our metagame. Coming on into the side deck, again, you got the Triple Spy, 1 Kinetic, 1 Zabara. You are really hedging for the warrior strategy. all day, every day in this side deck. 2 Mobius as well. You know, I don't hate this. I really don't hate what I'm looking at right now. I think this is a solid Warrior deck. I really firmly believe that the Warriors are in a good spot. So if you don't have a plan for the Warriors, you need to look out, because this event right here was Warrior heaven. Like, all the duels were out here rocking the Warriors based on what happened in PWCQ 40. So I fully expected the Warriors would come on in heavy, and they showed up and showed all the way out. But huge shout out to JACKSWORN. Again, in the top 8, all of the duels in the top 8, no one had a qualification. Everyone was vying for that spot, and JACKSWORN got close but did not quite make it. Speaking of getting close, we got the duelist, a good friend of mine going by the name of CRASHVOLT, SJC champion, also playing the Warrior strategy but doing it in their own unique and different way. I hate this layout that I see. I didn't notice how bad this was until literally right now. But having those solemn judgments up there next to your Trinity is saying something about this duelist and how important they think solemn judgment is to the strategy, and how that will probably never get removed. Maybe it's something to help out with side decking a little bit. But double Mystic Swordsman level 2, still hedging for turbo, not so much for the Warriors, but you have triple Saku double book. I don't hate the double book combined with the double Mystic Swordsman level 2. I think that's a solid call. Triple Dust Shoot still, I think that's a solid call. I think this deck is solid. I think this is another solid Warrior strategy to go on in to make some noise, you know what I'm saying? Because this has a plan to beat Chaos Turbo. He probably can encounter Chaos Turbo and get some dubs on that deck fairly easily, playing a kind of pre for Chaos Turbo deck. How you gonna do with, you know, when you start getting into those mirrors, you might run into a lot of issues if someone's geared for you. So that's what you got to kind of look out for. I think going into the side deck, you do have some answers for the go control stuff. You do have a bevy of monsters you can adjust your ratios with and set more stuff and prepare yourself for the Warriors. You got the one Zumbire in there, you got the Tiger in there, you got the Mycons in there, you got the Zing in there. I think this deal is playing lights out too. I mean, it just kind of came down to it. You get some bad matchups and it's going to go the way it's going to go. But I definitely think they're good enough. I think all these duels in this top 8 are good enough. They are so very close. And I know I say that a lot, but man, oh man, oh man, it's really coming down to the wire. It's really getting tight towards the end of the season. So we'll see what these Warrior players can do. We'll see what Crash can do. He got a deep bag of different decks he can go into. So maybe he might make some different calls going forward in the future events, but I will be looking out for it with great interest with CRASHVOLT, a good friend of mine. Looking forward to meeting this duelist in Orlando for the second time. All right, moving on. Speaking of Orlando, if you guys want to get out there, GGP Orlando is going down August the 26th. I hope to see you all there. I might not be able to see Marvin there. I know this duelist is European, but Marvin with the back-to-back. Shout out to Marvin with the back-to-back PWCQ tops. Came in 3rd place in PWCQ 40. Back at it again, PWCQ 41, this time with 4th place. So I'm looking at this deck again. This duelist didn't take my advice. They actually did the opposite. They added more mons to the deck. I think you need to go less mons. I really do. I think you need to go less mons. I think maybe I can pull up. Let's pull up the. I have it here. Let's pull up the P. So this is Marvin PWCQ 40. They come in with 16 mons. I say, hey man, you need to drop it down to like 15, 14 mons. Marvin says, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go 17 mons. You know, no big deal. Bringing in that Dekoichi, I think, is one of the changes, taking out that main deck mind control. I think this duelist might be trying to hedge a little bit for like a flip control kind of thing. Maybe you can get those knocks, get those decos out early. I'm not sure what the plan is, but that's what they elected to do, and still had some pretty good tournament success. You know, 4th place is not that easy to get to in these PWCQs. They're very competitive. You know, so back to back is saying something about this duelist consistency. You can see like fatigue does come in play. You know, this duelist is European. These things go very late European time, so playing for 8 hours or whatever, you can kind of get tired, start getting fatigued. So maybe that might be coming into play more than some of the deck building choices. But I still think this is way too many monsters to be playing in this Warrior strategy. I think the one Saku is not bad. I don't hate that. The main keeping the Dust Tornadoes in for game 1, I don't hate that either necessarily, especially if I think we're going back into a warrior centric metagame. I don't hate seeing Dust Tornadoes in the main deck, along with the double trap dust shoot. So maybe it might be something to say about this double trap dust shoot, because a lot of duelists are rocking 2 trap dust shoots. So maybe it's time to go down to 2 because Warriors are everywhere. So who knows? But I still like 3. I don't know why I like 3 in the Warriors. I really don't. But I might be thinking maybe 2 might be the way to go with it. In the side deck, still pretty good side deck. We saw the bottomless trap hole come in, and it actually has some great effects. You know, bottomless trap hole, it might be changing my opinion on bottomless trap hole. I've always been a long-standing person saying bottomless trap hole is a bad Yu-Gi-Oh card. I think it's a bad Go format card, but I might have to change that because this card was kind of going crazy a little bit for Marvin and some of the other duelists rocking rocking the bottomless trap hole technology. So tell me what you think about Marvin's deck. Shout out to Marvin again for a back-to-back topping performance. Clearly they are good enough to make it to this GOAT Format World Championship, but you got to keep grinding. You got to finish the drill. You got to have that dog, and then maybe you will make it to where you want to be. So huge shout out to Marvin going on in to the top 3, coming on in 3rd place. In 3rd place, we have the duelist going by the name of Dueling High. What's up, everybody? Master Reactor here, you know what I'm saying, doing this thing. I see you out here, Dueling High. Dueling High is an absolute grinder, you know what I'm saying. Dueling High is a grinder by all sense of the word. He's always on the GOAT Format dueling ladder. He's always in these tournaments. He's always playing, and he's getting better. He is getting better. People say, oh, he's inconsistent. He does this, he does that. He doesn't make the right plays at the right time. But he is definitely becoming an extremely strong player. He's been playing for a long time. I've been seeing him. I know he's close. and he's going to get in. I say that about everybody, but this duel is, I'm serious. He's going to get in. He's going to get in. I think it's just a matter of time before the luck turns where it needs to be. Going back to the triple solemn judgment, don't hate that. Still on the wing blast technology. I think we might be beyond Wing Blast, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I think Wing Blast is time to hang it up. I think it's time to go back to the Regeki Break. I really feel that way, just because Regeki Break does a lot more in a lot of other matchups, especially against those warriors. I want to put the Kaiku in the graveyard. I want to put the Blade Knight in the graveyard. I want to put, the BLS in the graveyard. I don't want to put those attacking mons back on the top of their deck because it's just going to cause me more strife that next turn when they send it on me. I could be wrong. This duelist is a big advocate of Wing Blast, so maybe he might be onto something. Keeping that Book of Moon in there, protect your chaos guys. I think it's solid deck. Okay, looking in the side deck, triple Zumbira technology. Zumbira stock is through the freaking roof. Everybody's on Zumbira. 1 Kiko the Ghost Destroyer, 2 Minecon, 3 Sakus, another Dust Shoot coming on in the side. I don't hate it. I think it's very clean. I think this deck can win. I think the ratios are solid, and I think the player is good enough. But you know what? It's gonna take the deck building. It's gonna take your dueling ability, but it's also gonna take us a little bit of luck. So you got to be there at the right time, and maybe you're gonna get to where you want to be. But shout out to Dueling High. Keep rocking and rolling, and we're gonna see you maybe in the postseason. If not, keep grinding. Next season is always gonna be there as well. All right. Moving on to Shogun. Seeing this duelist coming back just warms my heart as well. We got another Bones in the building. That's double Bones in the top 8. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Shogun are both rocking the Bones organization, and he's elected to dust off the return strategy, which I still don't understand why this happens. It happens all the time that this deck comes in, has great results, and just fades off into obscurity. I think this deck is really damn good. The world champion played this deck. There are a couple of duels who played this return strategy throughout the season. It comes in, has phenomenal results, and then just vacates. It's hard to play against. It has a lot of great matchups. It can do a lot for you. It can set, it can attack, it can aggress, it can defend, it can do all of it, but no one considers it. I don't know why, but Shogun dusted it off, played it in his own unique special way, got that Stork back in there. You got the Deco and the GK Spy, so you can set mons on the field, presenting problems to your opponent. They can answer with no one to cross out, removing their copies as well. You got fueling your return play that you can save for later on. You can also attack because you have the Blade Knight. You can get into their health box. You can negate their flip. It's a good deck. Dust Tornado, Solemn Judgment, it can do everything you want a good Yu-Gi-Oh deck to do. In the side deck, this duelist said, you know what, I'm not losing to the nonsense. Okay, DMOC launch, FTK, freaking all that Reasoning Gate stuff. I'm going triple copies of Jalgan on you, which isn't bad because you got the Shining Angel who can bring forth your Jalgan and Spiritualist pretty easily. I don't hate that either. I really don't. I'm telling you. People might say looking at the side deck, it's not optimized because you are playing 3 Jalgans against a deck that you may never face, but I don't hate it. And then you got the Kiko the Ghost Destroyer, the Travis is going to be in the side deck, double Zumbira, and triple freaking Widespread Ruin, triple Mystic Walk. This duelist was not losing to Alt-Win. And you need, and I respect the call too. You need duelists like the Shogun Lopez making side decks like this to keep that tournament honest, because no one else is going to do it. So when Shogun matches up with that duelist who's playing the Reasoning Gate stuff, who's playing the DMOC launch, who's playing those obscure OTK type decks, he's got the answers, and he can knock that person out for you. So everyone needs to give Shogun a tip of the cap for keeping the tournament clean. And you know what I'm saying? I just, that's how it's going to be. But it's got the widespreads in there, 7 total battle traps. I don't hate that. We're a warrior meta. You got to have it. So shout out to Shogun Lopez. Still didn't quite get over the hump. Second place ain't bad. I think the deck's cool, and I think the duelist is phenomenal. All right. But now we go to our winner. Our winner coming on in, taking the gold medal. We have none other than the duelist that goes by the name of RABBID. And I've been saying it, dude. I know I said it about a lot of people, but this duelist freaking deserves it. This duelist deserves it, man. He puts in the work. He grinds. He puts in the work. He shows up. He plays. He takes bad beat after bad beat after bad beat. I'll sit in his booth and I'll see some of the most wildest, dramatic losses I've ever seen to anyone. I'm talking top deck BLS, top deck Sork, top deck Pot, top deck this, top deck that, and it's always against Rabbid every single time. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Give this man a break. Give him a break. And he finally got the break that he needed and made it on through and got onto the invitation to the Go Format World Championship. And I think if he absolutely deserves it. Playing this Flip Warrior deck, again, this deck, I believe, and I've said this multiple times on record, I think this is one of the best decks we have in our entire format. I really do. I think it's a super strong deck. I think it's in a good spot, and I think more people should play it. I think more people should play it because this deck causes a tremendous amount of problems to your opponents when they're side decking, especially you got Minecon, you got Nox, you got Spy, you got Faith, you got Blade. I think it's almost like that return strategy without the return stuff, so you can add more, more assaulty stuff. You got the Dawn in there. I think this deck is really cool. And the player has definitely put in the time. The player has definitely put in the research. Got the one bottomless trap hole in there, the one berserk gorilla in there to kind of just change up the numbers a little bit. Throw some curveballs at the opponent. One thing I will say about Rabbid, you got to play a little bit faster. You got to play a little bit faster. You got to be a little bit more, decisive. I would think sometimes you might overthink and throw yourself off the play. But I think other than that, I think this duel is really good. I think he's a strong player, and he absolutely accomplished his goals of making it to the Go Format World Championship. And maybe they can get in that championship and make a deep run. But who knows? But huge shout out to Rabbid, huge shout out to Safari Zone, and huge shout out to everyone behind the scenes on this tournament. Oh my goodness, it was so smooth. We had some issues. That VOD is up on the channel. Go check that out. We had some issues, man. Dueling Book just tried to hold us down, but we're not going to let it, and we're going to get to where we need to be in the end. All right. But as always, get into the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. Yes, this is a tournament. Yeah, it's very competitive. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I want to hear what you guys think about this metagame. This is to the competitive players and to the people who participate in these tournaments. I want to hear from you. What do you guys think about this metagame? What do you think some calls are going to be made? I think the Warriors are in a great position. I think they're going to continue to show up, and I think they have some work to do to kind of close that matchup between the turbo players. So I'll be excited to see where it all goes down. But as always, like I said, Orlando's on the 26th. There are more events. Get into the Discord. Check it out. As always, I'm JDZ. I play Goats. Until the next time, shout out to all the real ones. Salute to the OGs. Peace.